Hey everybody, Mr. Ray here. I'm going to look at a video on Kohlberg's moral development stages. I suggest you have your moral development packet open to page 7 because we're going to cover the same information on this video. We're going to talk about Kohlberg's moral development stages 1, 2, and 3 today. And this video will take maybe 12, 13 minutes. So a little background, right? We talked about Kohlberg's, or at least stage development theories and how people move through stages of development in the same order, beginning in the same place at the bottom, usually with simple thinking or capabilities, and then move to more complex behaviors, but not at the same rate, and we may not end up at the same time. So when we talk about moral development stages, Kohlberg's basically talking about what is our standard of right and wrong, or what are our standards of acceptable conduct? And some of us may have a pretty clear vision of what that is, and some of us may not. But we're going to take a look at and describe his stages. And for Kohlberg, the motive of why you decide to exhibit a wrong or right choice matters. Why did you do it, not just what did you do? So we're dealing with moral dilemmas, and that means there is a right or wrong decision. Not all your decisions are moral decisions. So whether or not you eat breakfast, or whether or not you decide to switch stations on the TV is not a moral decision, typically. So keep that in mind. And remember the stages. We're going to talk about stage 1, 2, and 3 today. 1 is the lowest, 2 is a little more sophisticated, 3 is a little more sophisticated than that. Do keep that in mind. In order for Kohlberg to come up with this theory, this type of thinking was around a lot longer than Kohlberg's been around, but he kind of put it into the different types of thinking into a theory. And he read people different dilemmas where they had to make a choice of right or wrong. And he read these to young subjects, 6 or 7 years old, up to middle-aged adults. His most famous dilemma or scenario was the Heinz dilemma, in which Heinz, his wife, was sick from a very rare terminal form of cancer, and there was a new drug that might be able to cure her. It was super expensive. So Heinz tried to get together the money to buy the drug, but he could only get about half of it. He didn't have insurance, apparently. And he asked the pharmacy company, could you sell me the drug at half price or let me pay it out over time? And like, nope, we're going to make money on this drug, so you can't have it unless you can come up with the money. So Heinz stole the drug. And then the question Kohlberg asked was, should Heinz have done that? Why or why not? So it wasn't just should he have stolen the drug or not stolen the drug, but what is your motive and what is your reasoning behind it? Do keep that in mind as we go through these stages, and this is how he described the stages. And he found that people use one of 3 different levels, and those levels are called pre-conventional, conventional, and post-conventional. We'll talk about each one. They're all based on different motives. And in each level, there's 2 stages, so there's 6 total stages. And we're going to look at the first stage here, called pre-conventional. And if conventional means basic, typical, or average, pre-conventional is how we think before we get to that level where most people end up. Mostly used by younger kids, maybe up to about 11 or 10 or 11 years old. But we can always fall back and use this stage or level of thinking for simple dilemmas. We all can be a little bit selfish from time to time. And there's 2 stages in this level. Let's look at these stages. Now notice that pre-conventional moral thinking is based on self-interest. Your focus is on yourself. You're not worried about other people. So let's take a look at stage 1. And stage 1 is considered the punishment and obedience orientation, or the punishment and obedience thinking style. Your main concern here is the self, and it's considered a naive approach. And naive simply means it's not sophisticated thinking. It's just based on self-protection. It's kind of this thinking that doesn't require a lot of complex or sophisticated thinking. Simple, down to earth. and it's based on your consequences. Your choices in a dilemma is based on what kind of consequences am I going to get. And you want to try to avoid anything that's punishment or displeasure. So here your thinking is, I just want to stay out of trouble. I don't want to have any uncomfortable outcome. Let's take a look at an example here. Imagine a 7-year-old accidentally breaks a lamp while playing in the living room with his friends. The 7-year-old knows that playing in the living room is against the rules. It's verboten. When asked later by the babysitter who broke the lamp, the 7-year-old lies, denies breaking the lamp, and blames the dog. Does this demonstrate stage 1 thinking? And I'll ask you a couple questions here. Pause the video maybe for 10, 15 seconds and think to yourself, is this stage 1 thinking, lying? And why or why not? And then come back. So yes, they're avoiding punishment by lying. So they're focused on self-interest, self-preservation, avoiding discomfort. It is a simple way to think. Unfortunately, though, I hope the dog doesn't get in trouble because somebody lied. And that's stage 1 thinking. Let's look at stage 2 thinking now, still based on self-interest, but you're going to bring somebody else into the mix here. Stage 2 thinking is considered the reward and exchange orientation. A fancy word for that is called hedonistic approach, which is self-interest, self-pleasure seeking. So instead of just avoiding punishment, you try to gain rewards and gain pleasure here. And you realize that other people might be able to help you do that. So I just want what I want. I want to gain pleasurable outcomes, like maybe a box full of money. This is based on obtaining rewards. It's considered the you scratch my back, I scratch yours thinking. So you might share in order to benefit yourself. Other people might see you share and think you're generous, but your motive is to just get what you want when you want it. So it's scratching backs to get what you want. It's considered reciprocity thinking. What can I do to get what I want? Hey, if I give you my crayons, will you give me your new coloring book? If I give you money for lunch, will you pay for my movie ticket? So it's based on getting something out of what you're doing. So the motive is still self-interest. Vengeance here is justifiable because you're doing what was done unto you. So they did it to me first thinking. So if somebody hurts you, you can morally justify in your own mind that, well, I can hurt them because they hurt me first. Let's look at an example here. Suppose you went to Culver's for lunch. You want to go to Culver's for lunch. You don't have a car, so you ask Julieta for a ride in her brand new car. Julieta says she can't go because she doesn't have her wallet. What can you do? Well, you want to go to Culver's. Who wouldn't? You suggest, hey, I'll buy you lunch if you drive. And Julieta thinks, hey, that is a great idea. Thinks you're the super generous person. But all that really wanted to happen was what? You wanted that nice turtle sundae from your Culver's drive-through person. So is this an example of stage 2 thinking? Again, a good student will stop here for maybe 15, 20 seconds and think about, is it stage 2 and why or why not? I'm not going to pause here because of time, but it is an example of you scratch my back, I scratch yours. You drive, I buy. You fly, I buy. You only wanted to please yourself. You really weren't interested in what Julieta wanted. You just wanted to use the car. Justice or the righteousness here is based on I want what I want when I want it, and what can I do to get it. So you might look generous, but it's still based on self-interest, so it's still pre-conventional thinking in stage 2. We're going to move on now to conventional morality. This is now social-based. It's not selfish-based anymore, but getting along with important other people becomes really important here. This is an interpersonal relationship focus or orientation. Notice orientation means focus. And it's from the perspective of us. And us is whoever you're associating with at the time. Is it your family? Is it your friends? Is it your teammates? Is it your class? Is it your community? Is it your neighborhood? It might involve nepotism, which means showing favoritism for your friends or doing things for your friends that you wouldn't do for just anybody. Like I might loan my friend $5, but I wouldn't just loan anybody $5. That's kind of nepotism, even though nepotism is typically considered something that happens in business or politics, promoting friends or family over other qualified people, which is illegal, at least it's supposed to be. But the reasoning is based on being approved of. You want to be seen. So there's a little bit of selfishness here, but you're also see yourself as part of a group of us. So being seen as good from your social group, your team, your class, your neighbors. You want to avoid being seen as bad. I'm going to act how I expect to act here. And you abide by the rules of the group. So these are rules that didn't exist when you were alone. You want approval from whoever that group is, friends, family, neighborhood. Let's take a look at an example. Suppose you're out with your friends on Saturday night. Your friends want to go to Liliana's, a nice restaurant for dinner, but you're like, no, I don't want to spend that much money. I'm trying to save for college, even though they have really good food, which they do, by the way. Your friend says, oh, come on, you can save money later. Don't be lame. Come with us. We want you to be with us. And so you decide to go so you look good in front of your friends, so your friends approve of you. Is this an example of stage 3? Why or why not? Think to yourself. Pause. Yes, it is. Your motive for going out to dinner was to be approved of by your friends. It's an example of being concerned with us, just my people. So you're giving special consideration to your friends, which is nepotism. So what would happen with the Heinz dilemma? We're going to end here, but I do have a couple practice questions for you. So by yourself, how would you think someone would resolve each stage of the Heinz dilemma? If they were a stage 1 thinker, would they steal the drug or not? Why? What about if they were a stage 2 thinker? Why or why not? And if they were a stage 3 thinker, why or why not? Think to yourself, and we'll talk about these in the next video. Your assignment is complete the stage questions 1, 2, and 3 on page 10 of your packet. So they're going to ask you for specific examples from your own life where you have exhibited these stages, and most of us have. Do not upload this assignment until after the next video. We'll finish the assignment after the next video. So those 2 pages, 10 and 11, will be due Friday, April 3rd. And I would read page 7, 8, and 9. There's some sophisticated thinking in there for you scholars, and become an expert on these stages. So I hope you're safe. I hope you're well, and we're going to stop there. Thanks.